The movie begins on a stunning beach in France. Thibault, who works as a pediatric nurse, also known as Titi among his friends, is the only guy in the group on holiday for a bachelorette party. The party begins in no time, with over 100 people in attendance. There is music, drinks, dancing, and even a DJ to complete the vibe. The group also hired an exotic dancer named Jordi to seduce the bachelorette. Like a stage dad, Titi whips out his phone and records his friends having fun instead of dancing with the other girls. They share a toast before carrying on the festivities. At night, the girls run to the beach and play with the water while Titi smiles, looking at them. He remains at the shore and sits on a seaside bench. The girls yell out to him, trying to convince him to join them, but he refuses. He makes an excuse that he didn't bring his earplugs with him. Despite being invited multiple times, he prefers to stay in his own company, watching them have fun. After a while, the girls finally have enough and gather at the shore to cover themselves up. Jordi, who also appears to be approaches Titi and sits beside him. Jordi asks him about his plans for the rest of the night. Titi explains he will read a little and then get ready for bed. Jordi asks to join him, but Titi is confused, wondering why a man would want to accompany him in reading. He is too oblivious to the fact that Jordi is flirting with him. When he realizes what Jordi meant, Titi apologizes and explains he is only interested in girls. Jordi gets up and they exchange glances as the former returns to the hotel, leaving Titi wondering about the encounter. He sure appears awkward in that kind of situation. No wonder why the girls are comfortable around him. He looks like he doesn't know how to flirt at all. When he finally finds no one at the beach except him, Titi decides to go for a swim himself. He undresses and leaves his clothes on the bench. Before he can even enjoy the water, the hotel staff arrives and cleans up. When Titi yells out for his clothes, the staff cannot hear him. He tries to stop the staff, but he sees a woman coming out of the hotel. To avoid embarrassment, he decides to retreat to the water to cover half of his body. His clothes end up being taken away as the girl gets closer to the water. Mesmerized by her beauty, Titi completely forgets about his clothes. Suddenly, the girl screams. She must have stepped on a weaver, a venomous fish that injects venom into its victim. The girl cries for help. Titi hesitates, due to being but he has no choice. He explains he is a nurse and knows exactly what needs to be done. Although in doubt about having a stranger in front of her, she accepts. He carries her into the hotel. The girl hesitates again, but when Titi lowers her to the ground, she cries from the pain. She finally gives her room number, and Titi carries her back to her room. After getting dressed in bathrobes, Titi uses a hairdryer on her foot to alleviate the pain. Heat neutralizes the venom. The girl starts to feel a lot better. Titi guides her to a chair on the balcony. She thanks him and introduces herself as Rose. She then offers him a drink, which he gladly accepts. Rose, who already feels comfortable around him, shows him the project she's currently working on. She designs baby clothes in different themes. He praises her and tells her how he loved her work. He plans to order some since he works in pediatrics. Their conversation also reveals that Rose has recently broken up with her boyfriend, one of the reasons why she was staying there, and the other is a trade show for her designs. Titi then goes about the reasons why being single is great, just like how he feels about himself. Suddenly, Rose's foot starts hurting, so he offers to give her a foot rub. After some time, he notices that it's already late and then bids goodbye to her. The next morning while checking out, Titi talks to his friends, Maud, Lulu, and Alex about Rose. He tells them what happened, and they begin teasing him. For them, how Rose acted hints that she likes Titi, but he dismisses their idea. That's how dense he is. In the city, Titi rides to the hospital to begin his day job as a nurse. There, he meets with his co-worker Lulu, who asks him to help her with her rent again. Titi agrees. He loves helping, he's good at his job, yet he's bad at women. While Titi and Lulu check the vitals of one of the teenagers in the ward, Titi receives a message from Rose. They are going on a date at 5 p.m. Lulu tells him to cancel it and go at a later time. According to them, it is best to go on a date night for better chances of hooking up with the girl. However, Titi has no idea what they mean. Even the teenager calls him out for being too naive. Titi sticks with the original time, gets dressed, and waits for Rose outside her apartment just before 5 p.m. He lets her decide what they will do. Rose prefers to check a clothing sale in a nearby shop. When Titi agrees, Rose is surprised. Her ex-boyfriend, Bruno, refuses to accompany her to do things like that. Even only after days of the breakup, he's already posting himself with another girl. Rose also explains how Bruno has been but the worst boyfriend with her. The date went well. Titi and Rose take turns trying on different outfits, while the other evaluates the fit. They end the night with an ice cream date and a hug. Dates become their usual routine. Rose would text him and he would gladly accompany her. They get closer together, having gone on multiple dates, sharing drinks on a night out, and even giving her a foot rub. They would watch movies together while Rose rested her head on his lap. Rose is too comfortable with him that even watching R-rated films is funny to her. However, being the dense character that he is, Titi cannot tell if Rose likes him or not. On one of their date nights, Titi brings protection with him and plans to confess how he feels toward her. He has fallen in love. He enters Rose's apartment and she greets him. She notices how he looks and he straightforwardly tells her he's going on a date with her. Rose asks if he brought protection. When the conversation starts to go somewhere, Rose bursts into laughter and tells him how weird that would be. He laughs awkwardly. Titi thought she was serious, so he postponed telling her about his feelings. Following a disastrous attempt, he excuses himself, lying about meeting his ex for dinner. To ask for advice over his broken heart, he calls for the help of his friends. They immediately rush to his aid and sit down at the dining table to come up with a plan. However, he is convinced that it's already over. He has been friend-zoned. Alex explains that when he is in the friend zone, he cannot be a boyfriend. As friends, they won't have the mystery, the seduction, and the sexual tension. When Titi asks how he can escape this, they tell him the truth that it would be almost impossible. The three start asking him about his good qualities that can make a woman like him, but he ends up telling them how a woman exactly ends up considering him as a friend. He's honest, he cannot say no, he is too nice. In his case, that's a turnoff, sadly. They devise a plan to rebrand him, to renew his image. First, he'll have to disappear. Tell Rose he will be away for a while, and then cut off all communications with her. No messages, calls, nothing. This way, Rose will forget they are friends, increasing his chance to get out of the friend zone. After his makeover, he will come back, reinvented. His training starts with Maud, Monday, 6 in the morning. Monday arrives. Titi puts on his workout clothes and meets Maud at the park for a jog. Maud scolds him for being late. She then wastes no time and begins with their workout. During their jog, Maud gives him advice using the color beige as an example. For women, Titi is the color beige. It fits with everything but is rather boring. Because of this, no one is interested in him. While taking a break, Maud continues her constructive criticism by correcting his posture. She also notes the fact that Titi is afraid to voice out his feelings. He is a person who always tries to please everyone instead of being true to himself. He needs to be sincere. Titi's second rebranding lesson comes from Lulu, who takes her to an African dance lesson. The dance includes the dancers being in proximity to their partners. They need to harness that intimate feeling of the dance. Lulu pairs Titi with another dance instructor, who guides him with everything. Although hesitant to even lay a hand on the instructor's back, Titi manages. He looks like he has 2 left feet though. To get an update on his progress and to begin his lesson with Alex in intimacy, the group meets in a restaurant. Titi is being put to a hot seat again, being bombarded by terrible yet helpful comments. Alex mentions that Titi should remain mysterious, rather than telling women every thought that comes to his mind. She introduces a new way of captivating women's hearts, the art of silent pauses, and the rule of using the thumb during intimacy. They explain that women prefer a silent man, a charismatic, confident man, with a little naughtiness. Alex then gives him a demo to explain what they meant, since Titi is too naive to understand. However, he fails disastrously. Titi has no idea how intimacy and dating work. The following day, Alex and Maud accompany Titi to a shopping mall to buy new clothes. Out of nowhere, Titi asks Alex how a woman can enjoy intimacy. Alex explains what she felt for her husband that prompted her to marry him. When she heard how he loved her, she already knew he was the one. She can feel and see it in his eyes. Alex tells Titi not to say he loves a woman, unless he's very sincere about it. The group then spent the next days, and weeks, training Titi to become the better version of himself. Through rigorous exercises, dance, and intimacy training, Titi manages to win the affection of the social influencer, Jenny. Now, he's turning every girl's head once he enters the room. He successfully gets Jenny's number, something he's incapable of before. Feeling ready, the group goes to Rose's new showroom opening. On their way, they go over why he was gone for so long. They also remind him of important details, like ignoring her and keeping his words to a minimum. Rose welcomes Titi with a hug, clearly enthusiastic about his return. Titi introduces his friends, and they share pleasantries. The 3 excuses themselves, giving Titi the time to talk to her. Rose feels nervous, but he assures her she can nail it. She then asks him where he had gone, so he goes through his script. He was in Siberia, training with local caregivers. TT is all smiles until Rose mentions her boyfriend Bruno. She explains that Bruno apologized to her a month ago and they started living together. TT loses the light in his eyes as Bruno approaches Rose and wraps his arms around her. TT is confused. Bruno recognizes him as the new guy on the beach and thanks him for helping Rose. When Rose excuses herself, Bruno spots Maud across the crowd. Turns out they knew each other. Bruno walks up to Maud and greets her. Bruno learns that Maud knows TT and then showers her with uncomfortable sensual praises. Maud, however, is not interested. She is into girls. After Bruno leaves, Maud explains to TT and the girls how she hates him. Bruno gets up in front and proposes a toast for Rose's success. Well, not without mentioning his own. Even the girls are shocked to see Rose together with him. Their training was useless. Unable to handle it, TT leaves. Intensely heartbroken, he decides to meet Jenny. They start to know each other in a much deeper sense. Although known as a social influencer, Jenny prefers to date serious guys and avoids casual interactions. TT, who has been rebranded, easily convinces her to break her rules. He urges her to sleep with him by lying about his intimate life. While they engage in intimacy in the hospital, two children see them. Lulu, who saw Jenny walk out of the storeroom in heels the other night, spills the tea to Maud and Alex. From that piece of information, they immediately guess what happened. They almost cannot believe it. Maud also exposes Bruno, telling them he won't stop texting her despite being in a relationship with Rose. Seconds later, TT shows up with Jenny and introduces her to everyone. The new couple suddenly start making out in front of them. Alex and Lulu look away, while Maud stares at them, clearly surprised. When Jenny excuses herself to sanitize, TT thanks them for their help, but the girls are hesitant. Their relationship looks a little rushed. They are supposed to share a meal, but Jenny eats a gluten-free diet, and the menu is a no-go for her. Jenny urges them to take a picture before leaving with TT. Being in a relationship with an influencer is tough work. TT becomes Jenny's personal assistant and photographer. He helps her with social media content and everything. His world starts to revolve around her, and their relationship now cuts the time he spends with his friends. Rose tries contacting him, but her calls are always sent to voicemail. She also checks Jenny's account, but TT doesn't look happy in the pictures. Deep inside, he still wants Rose. Due to Jenny's hectic schedule, TT starts to feel tired accompanying her in social gatherings. Jenny's life is all about earning the validation of millions of her followers, so TT is forced to go, despite being unable to. After not hearing from TT for quite some time, Rose decides to visit him at the hospital. It has been a while since they last saw each other. The last time was during her event. In the middle of their conversation, he receives a flirty picture from Jenny, and Rose manages to steal a glance. She grabs his phone to get a better look, but TT stops her. This prompts Rose to ask him about his dating life. How was it dating someone like Kim Kardashian? TT explains he had fun before asking her about Bruno, referring to him as a jerk, like what she previously described him. Rose appears offended by his remarks, telling him they don't owe each other explanations. She points out that they can still be friends, even if they are both seeing other people. The bitterness from seeing Rose with Bruno still lingers in TT, causing him to say he is not always available to act the way Rose wants. She cannot understand what he means, but he decides to brush it off, telling her it was nothing. Concerned that there might be something bothering him, Rose asks if everything is all right, calling him TT like she always does. However, TT urges her to call him by his real name, Thibaut. Rose lets out a sigh of disbelief before saying goodbye, noting how he doesn't look happy to see her. Hiding beside the doorway, Lulu has overheard their conversation and immediately informs the others. Outside the hospital, TT sees Lulu chatting with Maud and Alex about his conversation with Rose. When TT asks what they are doing, Lulu explains that she saw Rose leaving the hospital in a hurry, and they demand the entire story. He admits he acted rude toward Rose, who only wanted to catch up. However, the naivety in him cannot recognize that Rose is jealous of Jenny. Lulu still needs to point it out for him. Since TT got together with Jenny, he gave Rose no calls, nothing. TT doesn't see it in the way they do, so he is extremely confused. They start comparing TT's feelings toward Jenny and Rose. It is obvious that he's madly in love with Rose, although he says he likes Jenny. Rose, on the other hand, is still with Bruno, but thanks to Maud, they manage to expose his fantasies with lesbians. Now that they know Rose has feelings for TT, and now has proof that Bruno is indeed a douchebag, Lulu has come up with a plan to open Rose's eyes, by using Jenny to stir things up with Rose. Alex and TT are against the idea. They can't play with Jenny's feelings. It is easy to say, but it is against TT's morals. Maud agrees with Lulu. Knowing Jenny, who has plenty of guys lining up to get her, she can push through the heartbreak. For the plan to work, Maud must entrap Bruno. They need to have solid evidence, and if this turns out well, Titi can finally have another shot at Rose. He can finally pursue the feelings he kept hidden. After a lot of convincing, Titi agrees. The first thing Titi needs to do is apologize to Rose. He visits her store with a picnic basket and admits his wrong. He explains he was avoiding her for getting back with Bruno, but in a friendly, concerned way. They exchange apologies and share a hug. He then invites her to a costume party and tells her to bring Bruno along. Afterward, he bids goodbye, saying he will have a picnic date with Jenny. As he walks to the door, Rose looks a bit embarrassed. She may have mistaken that it was for her. The party has already started before Rose and Bruno arrive. Not even a minute in, Bruno starts complaining about not wanting to go, mocking Titi. Rose promises it will be short. Bruno changes his demeanor when he sees the actual party. He expects to see children dressed up in costumes, but instead people are dancing and drinking. Alex sees Rose and instructs the girl to come up to them and kiss her hello. Bruno is shocked, even more when he realizes that Titi is dating Jenny. They greet Titi, who then introduces them to Jenny. Jenny excuses herself to do some social media postings. She needs to get back the money she spent on the party. While Rose and Titi catch up, Bruno leaves to get some more shots. However, he only intends to look at the girls. Titi tells Rose how proud he is of her success. She managed to impress a client during her event, but she could not accept the deal. Accepting it means she will need to move to Spain. And because Bruno runs a business in the country, she cannot leave. Nonetheless, it was a great achievement for her. Jenny then calls for Titi to do a live video of the party. Titi is hesitant, but Rose urges him to go. Now it's time to set Bruno up. Rose is alone and her boyfriend is now drunk. Lulu and Alex offer Maud a shot for encouragement. They plan to snap a few photos with Bruno. Although disgusted, Maud is willing to do it for Titi. As part of the plan, Alex approaches Rose and asks her to bring something to Titi's room. Rose happily agrees. Lulu intentionally spills her drink over Jenny. In frustration, Jenny walks out, and Lulu informs Titi that Rose is on the way to his room. Titi then leaves and the satisfied Lulu takes a seat, holding a glass of champagne. Meanwhile, Rose checks Titi's bedroom, smiling at his pictures. Titi arrives, seeing her holding a picture of him with a patient. She asks why he chose his profession, and he answers that he sees children as him, not needing to pretend or anything. Rose then sees the poster from the dance lessons he attended with Lulu. She never knew he could dance, except Titi only learned it to impress her. While Titi shows Rose how to dance, Maud starts enticing Bruno, who instantly gives in. From a distance, Lulu records. She pretends to take a video of Alex while subtly capturing what Bruno does in the background. After getting the perfect shot, Alex and Lulu gesture to Maud. She quickly bails, leaving the drunk Bruno on the dance floor. Lulu then hits the post button for everyone to see. In the bedroom, the tension between Titi and Rose starts to get high as they continue to dance. However, Rose has no intention of cheating on Bruno. She then asks Titi to join the others at the party. On their way, Rose sees Bruno with his pants down, showing his thing to Maud. His discontent costs him his relationship. Rose walks out without hearing his explanation. She passes by Alex and Lulu, who are clearly baffled. Maud then pulls the curtains, allowing everyone at the party a sight of the Bruno. Everyone's gasps become louder than the music itself. Titi runs after Rose to make sure she's okay. At some point, Rose asks him to hold her. He initiates a kiss, but she declines. She feels offended when Titi admits that he doesn't care about Jenny. Thinking that Titi only wants to sleep with her, she tells him to go. When Titi arrives at his apartment, Jenny is waiting for him. She demands an answer. She wants to know if he's leaving her for Rose. There's no point in denying it, so Titi gives a plain answer. Yes. In a rage, Jenny punches him in the face and proceeds to kick him. She walks away, cursing at him and kicking bins. The girls hear the commotion and rush to his aid. He explains what happened with Rose, and they begin to give him advice. However, Titi does not take it lightly and begins lashing out at them. He is tired of having to follow their plans and being the good person that they know of him. For him, their plan did not work. He became a bad person and was even kicked out as Rose's friend. Titi spends the next few days alone. He refuses to talk to his friends and does his things alone. Lulu, however, cannot bear it, so she initiates to reconcile with him. She also informs him that Alex is now expecting a child, and she is at the hospital with Maud. Having the courage to face them again, Titi apologizes for everything he said. He also learns that Rose is moving to Spain for work. At first, Titi is unbothered about her move and says he is happy for her, but after seeing a young couple, his mind changes. He needs to see Rose. Wanting to start anew, Titi runs with a large smile on his face. Suddenly, an ambulance appears and hits him. The scene then jumps to his funeral, where all his friends including Jenny and Rose attend. The priest recounts his good deeds while everyone cries. Jenny cannot remove the influencer in her that even on his last day, she needs to get a good photo. God, however, has another plan. Titi wakes up. He's in a hospital bed with a neck brace. Outside, his friends are talking to his doctor. Although with injuries, he survives. He immediately asks the girls about the date and time, and he remembers that today is Rose's move to Spain. The girls sneak him out of the hospital in a wheelchair to meet her. Limping from a foot injury, Titi makes his way to Rose's apartment. However, Rose doesn't want to see him despite having been hit by a car. Rose closes the door on him when he tries to follow her inside. After asking for the new code from the bulky guys helping Rose, Titi gets kicked out again, but he is not planning on giving up. He climbs up the roof of the van and calls out for Rose. He admits the truth that he had done all these things for her because he loves her. He proceeds to deliver a heartfelt speech while everyone watches, describing what he truly feels for her. Rose is a little reluctant, knowing that they will be away from each other, but Titi is willing to go to great lengths for love. He will move to Spain with her. Rose finally gives in, telling him the passcode. He immediately climbs down the van and runs for her as if his foot has suddenly healed. They share a passionate kiss while everyone cheers. In Barcelona, Titi promises to return to France when Alex gives birth. He is the godfather. Their video call is cut off when Rose throws her brassiere at him, urging him to swim with her. The movie ends as Titi carries his girlfriend to the water. He is finally out of the friend zone.